This is the moment where fake peace plans go to die. Behind the smiles and handshakes lies a deal so reckless it could trap Europe in a permanent state of war. Ukraine is being offered promises instead of protection, paperwork instead of power, while the people selling it either don't understand the battlefield or simply don't care who bleeds next. And the most terrifying part? Some of the loudest voices pushing this plan truly believe it's brilliant.
Poland and Romania as well. So anything that involves foreign troops, the Russians will allergetically reject, but Trump, having not done the homework, think that just means NATO. So the new plan by the Ukrainians is for a NATO-style guarantee to not be with the alliance, but be with the United States and Germany and Poland and France. And basically every NATO country signs a bilateral deal instead. And Trump, this is the last deal in front of him, is like, this is a wonderful idea. And so this is the peace plan. It is still a stupid peace plan. It just meets one side's point as opposed to the other side's point. What that means for me is I am now gone from thinking that Witkoff is just rabidly pro-Russian to realizing that Witkoff is just really fucking stupid and Trump can't tell. So, why would an alliance of this structure with Ukraine be as horrible of an idea as every plan that's come forward to this point that's been from the Russian point of view?
What he's really exposing is a strategy built on illusion, not deterrence. Instead of a unified security shield, Ukraine is being offered a patchwork of side agreements, arrangements that look formidable on paper, but collapse the moment real pressure is applied. This approach doesn't prevent aggression. It rewards it by avoiding binding commitments. In the end, it's not a plan for peace. It's a blueprint for repeating the same catastrophe, only louder, faster, and deadlier. What you just heard wasn't debate about diplomacy or theory. It was a warning about plans that appear stable in documents and speeches, but disintegrate the moment reality intervenes. And now, that reality has arrived, not in conference halls, not in press briefings, but on the frozen ground of Eastern Europe. Because while politicians argue over guarantees and signatures, winter does not negotiate. And this winter is about to expose the most catastrophic miscalculation of the entire war. This is not just another season. This winter is a turning point. Snow is bearing the front lines. Blizzards are choking supply routes. Temperatures are plunging toward minus 20 degrees. On the surface, it looks like a familiar story, one Russia has told itself for centuries. The myth that winter is Moscow's eternal ally. The belief that cold will break Ukraine before it breaks Russia. That legend is collapsing in real time. Yes, Ukraine is suffering. Russian strikes hit energy infrastructure almost daily, especially around Kiev, trying to turn darkness and cold into weapons. Power shortages are real. Heating is strained. Life is harder. But there is a decisive difference, and it changes everything. Ukraine has been living through crisis winters for nearly 4 years. Its society, its military, and its infrastructure have adapted under fire. Russia has not. As 2026 approaches, winter has painted the battlefield white and transformed from an ally into an executioner. For Ukraine, the cold is a brutal test. For Russia, it is a mathematical death sentence. Because when snow immobilizes armor and fuel stops flowing, the Kremlin doesn't just face frozen engines, it faces empty coffers. Russia's treasury has collapsed into a financial black hole worth $52 billion. And once tanks stop moving, Moscow may not even have the money left to start them again. Despite this, Putin has made a decision that defies both history and logic. He has massed roughly 710,000 soldiers inside Ukrainian territory, repeating the same mistake that has destroyed empires before him. The question isn't whether winter is harsh. It's whether it's even possible to sustain hundreds of thousands of troops in extreme cold while the state's finances are unraveling. The answer is no. This winter marks Putin's first irreversible loss, and it begins with a violation of the deadliest rule of modern warfare. Never deploy an army your logistics cannot sustain. Western intelligence confirms it. Russian frontline forces were expanded by nearly 20% ahead of a winter offensive, swelling total manpower to 710,000. On paper, it looks overwhelming. On the ground, it is a frozen mass waiting to collapse. Winter warfare obeys ruthless physics. Cavalry needs triple. Fuel consumption explodes. Equipment failure skyrockets. Every soldier becomes a daily logistical equation that must be solved, or they die. By adding hundreds of thousands of new mouths to an already strained system, Putin transformed his own army into a logistical nightmare. Nowhere is this clearer than on the Pokrov's front. For months, Russia has thrown wave after wave of manpower into the fight, believing numbers alone could grind through resistance. But logistics don't scale linearly. They explode geometrically. Keeping soldiers alive in sub-zero temperatures requires winter gear, heating stoves, generators, spare parts, and above all, fuel. Every item must reach the front. And that's where Russia's war truly ends. Ukraine recognized this vulnerability early and built its strategy around it. Instead of smashing head-on into armor formations, Ukrainian forces hunt the arteries that keep those formations alive. Supply trucks, fuel convoys, ammunition carriers. Snow and ice strip Russian logistics vehicles and mobility, turning roads into kill zones. A modern tank without fuel is useless. At -20, its engine must run constantly, or the crew freezes, optics fail, and steel becomes a coffin. Ukrainian drone operators exploit this with ruthless efficiency, striking fuel tankers and supply columns far behind the front lines. A tank battalion without fuel is no longer a weapon. It is frozen scrap metal worth millions. Reports from the Kupiansk region confirm the outcome. Entire Russian units have surrendered without firing a shot, not because they lacked ammunition, but because vehicles froze solid and soldiers succumbed to hypothermia. Men wearing outdated gear scavenge from Soviet stockpiles huddle in trenches, try and survive. For Ukrainian thermal drones, they glow like beacons against the snow. This is where Russia's obsession with quantity collides with modern warfare and winter's unforgiving laws. 710,000 soldiers are not an advantage. They are a burden, one that must be fed, fueled, heated, and paid every single day. And while soldiers freeze at the front, an even deadlier chill grips Moscow. Empty vaults. War runs on money. And Russia is running out of all three things Napoleon warned about: money, money, and more money. The Kremlin's own numbers reveal the crisis. In 2024, the budget deficit stood at $34 billion. Officials claimed it was manageable. By the first 10 months of 2025, it had exploded to $52 billion. Analysts warn it could reach $70 billion by the end of 2026. This is not volatility. It is structural failure. Russia is burning roughly $1 billion a day on this war, while revenues collapse. Oil and gas income, once the lifeblood of the state, has fallen by more than a third year over year. A single global price shift erased billions from Moscow's budget overnight. To survive, the Kremlin is draining the National Welfare Fund. But that fund is finite, and the strain is visible everywhere. Inflation is far higher than official figures admit. Interest rates rise. War spending pours fuel on the fire. The middle class is being crushed in silence. Putin now faces an impossible choice: winter boots for soldiers or wages for workers. Taxes rise. Social spending is cut. The ruble erodes daily, destroying purchasing power. Russia is sliding into a recession deeper and more complex than the Soviet collapse. This is not an economic downturn. It is systemic breakdown. And here is where everything converges. For Russia, this winter is not weather. It is judgment, a moment when military doctrine and economic reality fail at the same time. No regime survives that double bind: an army freezing at the front and a population freezing at home. Printing money won't fix this. Rubles can't buy sanctioned technology, microchips, or modern logistics. Dependence on China and North Korea is no longer strategy. It is life support. Russia sells oil at a loss and begs for ammunition. The myth of superpower status collapses under the weight of reality, and the fracture spreads inward. Families receive sons home frozen, or not at all. Inflation reaches kitchens and wallets. Propaganda dissolves when radiators go cold. Urban infrastructure, like the army, is failing. Aging heating systems burst. Parts can't be replaced. Sanctions block repairs. Power outages loom. Railways decay. Aircraft are cannibalized just to keep others flying. Accidents multiply. Even travel becomes a gamble. This is what collapse looks like. Not sudden, not dramatic, but relentless. Winter 2026 may be remembered as the freezing point of the Russian Federation. A $52 billion deficit. A frozen army of 710,000. A population pushed to the edge. General Winter no longer fights for Moscow. History has chosen its side, and Russia is not on it.